Hi, my name is Abraham Garcia, and welcome to my final video presentation for Introduction to Medical Geography. The disease I will be covering today is depression. The burden of mental health disorders on society is very high. Depression is the second most common mental health disorder. Depression is characterized by feeling sad, loss of pleasure in activities, sleep and appetite problems, and thoughts of death and suicide. Depression affects roughly 5% of adults globally. Historically, mental health disorders were poorly defined. Early 19th and later 20th century research saw the modernization of mental health as a field and the classifications of various diseases. Currently, depression is diagnosed using the criteria in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 5th edition. Globally, it is estimated that depression accounts for 65 million disease years lost. This has its associated quality of life and productivity losses. Just in the US, major depressive disorder accounts for a $236 billion economic burden, spread across the cost of treatment and the loss in economic activity. Depression is experienced by individuals globally, and depression rates among populations remain consistent even among countries with various income levels. This data, however, may be influenced by the lack of diagnosing professionals and materials in lower income nations. The study I will be examining today is PARC availability in major depression in individuals with chronic conditions. This article was published in Health and Place by the authors listed above, who worked in both the United States and India. The purpose of the study was to understand how accessibility to green spaces in urban areas of India influenced the prevalence of depression, specifically in individuals with chronic illnesses. They would explore the individual's home distance to the nearest parks, the size of the nearest park, the number of parks within 1 kilometer of the home, and total parks within 1 kilometer of an individual's home, the total area of the parks. The methodology employed in this study was a cross-sectional study where individual exposure and disease were measured at the same time. Participant data was retrieved from the Center for Cardiometabolic Risk Reduction in South Asia. Participants' mini international neuropsychiatric interview scores were used to assess depression. Home location for individuals was obtained through the CARRS Geographical Information System Ancillary Study. And local parks were identified using Google Earth and categorized using ERI-hosted ArcGIS software. The GIS software was used to calculate distance by road to the nearest park from an individual's home, the square footage of the nearest parks, the number of neighborhood parks near an individual, and the total area of all the parks in a neighborhood. The results of the study, shown in the table, indicate that lower exposure to parks were associated with higher risk of depression for all exposure variables, except the total area of parks in a neighborhood. This was for the unadjusted odds ratios. But after adjusting for confounding variables, only the area of the nearest park remains statistically significant. Individuals with parks between 0 and 19 square meters were at 3.1 times greater risk for depression than individuals whose nearest park was between 3,831 square meters to 1,090,000 square meters. It should be noted that the authors reported odd ratios in their study, even though during our course, we learned that relative risk should be reported for cross-sectional studies. In conclusion, nearby large parks were protective against depression for individuals with chronic illnesses in urban India. Other green space park variables showed no relationship with depression among individuals with chronic illnesses. The protective nature of large parks may be explained by the park's ability to serve as locations for physical exercise and as sites for social interaction among local residents. Some limitations of the study included that data was limited to participants in Delhi, that only participants with chronic illnesses were included in the study, and that facilities available in the parks were not considered, and only the size of the parks was considered. This is my references list. Thank you for watching.